Alhamdulillah, we praise to Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Because of His mercy, we can gather in this video conference to participate in the international webinar and DPW IAEI DKI Jakarta's book launching entitled Recovery of Indonesia Economy in the Post-COVID-19, the Role of Islamic Economics. This event is also part of Road to ISEF, Indonesia Sharia Economy Festival, which is held by Bank Indonesia. I am Laili Dwi Arsyanti, will guide you as the master of ceremony in this event. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, to open our ceremony, let us hear the recital of Holy Quran by Ustadz Dr. Nur Hidayat, who will recite Quran Surah Al-Baqarah verse 218 and Quran Surah Ibrahim verse 7. Ustadz Dr. Nur Hidayat, the time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
A'udzu billahi minasy syaithanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. إن الذين آمنوا والذين هاجروا وجاهدوا في سبيل الله أولئك يرجون رحمة الله أولئك يرجون رحمة الله والله غفور رحيم. إن الذين آمنوا والذين هاجروا وجاهدوا في سبيل الله أولئك يرجون رحمة الله والله غفور رحيم. والله غفور رحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وإن تأذن ربكم لئن شكرتم لأزيدنكم ولئن كفرتم إن عذابي لشديد. ولئن كفرتم إن عذابي لشديد. صدق الله العظيم. الرجيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Ustadz Dr. Nur Hidayat. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, kindly pay your attention for our national anthem, Indonesia Raya. To all participants, kindly mute your audio device.
Yang ku cinta Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya.
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, now we are coming to the main program of this event, the soft launching of DPW IAEI DKI Jakarta's book entitled Recovery of Indonesia Economy in the Post-COVID-19, The Role of Islamic Economics. Let us hear the opening remarks from Dr. Sri Mulyani Indrawati, the chairwoman of the Indonesian Association of Islamic Economists, and to deliver her speech to launch the book. Dr. Sri Mulyani Indrawati, the time is yours.
Thank you, Laili. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalam asrofil anbiya wal mursalin sayyidina Muhammad Rasulullah wa ala alihi washabbihi ajmain amma ba'du. I would like to first greeting to all of you because today this is also coincide the new year for the Hijrah. So I would like to greet all of you, hopefully that with this new year's 1 Muharram, the first year of Muharram, 1442 Hijriah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless us with a good recovery of all the livelihood of the people, because we are now facing the COVID-19 threat to the human being. First, I would like to appreciate the initiative of the DPW IAEI Jakarta chapter for conducting and hosting this international webinar, as also a book launching, by also addressing the issue which is very important at this moment, the recovery of the Indonesia economy in the post-COVID-19 and the role of Islamic economies. All dear guests and ladies and gentlemen, we all know that COVID-19 has affected significantly the livelihood of the people all over the world. More than 200 countries in the world affected by this COVID-19. More than 22 million has been diagnosed positive, and 777 million has been actually died or passed away because of this COVID. So COVID affect very severely and significantly the whole social, economic, and also financial sector all over the world. For the economy side, the impact of the COVID has been very severe, as also seen by the contraction, significant contraction on the economy of many countries. Whether this is advanced country, which is really affected even more, the contraction in many advanced country is actually at the double-digit level on the second quarter of 2020. And also for many emerging countries, also affected very severely, as shown by their contraction in the second quarter of this year. And this contraction of the economy is not only deep, but also very quick and fast. And that's why the struggle to address the COVID-19 should address not only the health issue, because this storm is coming from the health issue or the health problem, but the manifestation of this COVID-19 has been spreading to the social, economy, and also financial side. And that's why for the government to address this impact or the implication of this COVID-19, we have to address on all these aspects. First and foremost, is the most important, is the health issue. The government has already allocated more than 87 trillion rupiah in the form of the budget support to address the health activity or health program in order to address this COVID-19. This is in the form of supporting the health workers up to the upgrading hospital, as well as providing support for the patient so that they are going to be treated during the suffer from this COVID-19. More than 132 hospitals has been upgraded in order for them to be able to handle the increasing patient of the COVID-19. Certainly, given the significant and widespreading, the health concern can only be addressed if all of us, the people of Indonesia, they are all participating in preventing the COVID-19 to be spread by obeying or abiding the lifestyle that is covering, using the mask when you meet with the people, and have a social distancing. The government also addressing this issue of COVID-19 through the expansion of social protection. We all know that the COVID-19 affected directly to the livelihood of the people, especially those which is on a small, medium enterprises and people in general. That's why more than 203 trillion has been allocated to support household from the 29 million poorest people or family in Indonesia, including supporting in the form of electricity subsidy and also expansion of this social protection in the form of providing for those who lost their job. And now the government is implementing additional support for those who has income more than 5 million per month. These are all the direct transfer and support of the government to protect the people who's been affected severely because of the COVID-19. The third area that the government also pay attention is on the small and medium enterprises. We all know that more than 60 million small and medium enterprises, and they are all the backbone of the Indonesian economy. The government allocated more than 123 trillion for this support for the small and medium enterprises. This is in the form of supporting for their debt, including the new debt, and also providing them with a guarantee so that their activity can continue be supported by the banking system or financial system, both conventional as well as Sharia lending. The support of the government also in the form of business community, up to more than 120 trillion is in the form of tax relaxation, both for the employment tax up to the corporate income tax and value-added tax. And then also supporting the sectoral and regional activity. These are all the support of the government in addressing the COVID-19 that affect people from the health threat up to the social safety and also their economic activity. So COVID-19 really remind us and demand of us actually to implement even more the Islamic value, the value of the Islamic religious based on social solidarity, justice, collaboration, and equality for all. These are all the principles which is even more important and becoming even more relevant when we are facing with this COVID-19. Because this COVID-19 cannot be addressed and handled by only one actor, even if this is the government. The government will rely on all people to be able to work together in a solidarity so that we are going to be able to address the COVID-19. The COVID-19 affecting the economy severely, as I mentioned earlier. In the industrial or manufacturing sector, not all affected negatively by the COVID. Some manufacturing industry like pharmaceutical, food and beverage is actually gain the benefit from this COVID. People focusing their spending now for health as well as good food and halal food, including beverages. So this kind of situation will provide an opportunity for the industrial manufacturing sector to use this opportunity to provide more education as well as providing product which is not only healthy but also halal that then support the people of Indonesia to be able to sustain and survive this COVID-19. Another sector which is affected very severely by this COVID is tourism activity, including halal tourism. In general, the government providing support from both the demand side and supply side of the tourism. On the demand side, we are providing the campaign as well as advertorial and even incentive for people to traveling again. But of course, we have to provide assurance about their safety. On the supply side, the government provides support for the all hotel industries in order for them to be able to survive during this very severe downturn of the tourism because of the COVID-19. This is in the form of the tax break up to the level of the support for the electricity bill and also in the form of credit that can be guaranteed by the government. The government also supporting many of the industry which is affected by this COVID. But as I said earlier, the Islamic value and the institution can play even more important role. The COVID-19 affecting also education, and that's why the government providing support for all pesantren and madrasah in order for them to be able to be reopened, but in a safe and according to the health protocol. More than 2.6 trillion has been allocated to transfer directly to all pesantren so that they have the ability to build the basic infrastructure that will guarantee the safety of their returning student. Now, in general, the Islamic economic institution, for example, like zakat, infak, wakaf, can and should also play an important or major role during this COVID-19. because they are actually strengthening the social fabric and solidarity, and also helping those who are very needed. Government can do their role, but that cannot be the only player. Society, especially the Islamic society, can also participate and helping and support, especially the poor, so that they can recover their livelihood and restoring their purchasing power. Another thing that we need to really use this COVID-19 and how the Islamic economy can play a role. First, on the halal pharmaceutical industries, because of the effort to find the vaccine is still on the way, we do hope that the pharmaceutical industry that is taking into consideration the halal aspect of this vaccine could be actually established. As I said, the government providing a lot of support for these pharmaceutical industries. First, on the research and development, not only through the allocation of the budget, but also in terms of the incentive of taxation, so that they can be deducted more, we call it super deduction, for all the research and innovation that can then lead to the innovation of the vaccine or the cure for this COVID-19. On a halal food, we do hope that this is also providing an opportunity for the industry to be able to develop a product that is needed and according to the new lifestyle, healthy lifestyle of many umat in Indonesia. So let's now move on the financial industry. Islamic banking has developed globally and growing rapidly, especially in the past 3 decades. We also see that the banking system based on Sharia is supposed to be more resilient during this crisis. Islamic finance and banking also have the ability to survive because they are adopting and practicing a just and fair and transparent value. We do hope that this kind of values is going to be implemented consistently by this institution. The government supporting the banking system through the Perpu number 1, 2020, or now becoming the law number 2, 2020. That is making sure that there is a stability of the financial system in Indonesia. We are working with Bank Indonesia in order for us to be able to create a stability and supporting through both fiscal and monetary policy, so that not only banking system have adequate liquidity, but they are also supporting the recovery of the economy because of this COVID-19. We do hope that during this process, the thrive or the increasing or development of the financial industry based on the Sharia value can be even more progressing. If we are looking at the capital market, we also see that in general, the capital market affected severely by this COVID-19. Maybe we are still have a fresh memory that in March or April up to the early May, global financial sector or market is actually suffering from a panic because of this COVID. And that's already affected severely all the indicators. For the Islamic capital market, in order for them to thrive, they really need to be supported by the industry, which is based on the Islamic value. And that is the area that we can see a lot of opportunity and using more government support in order for us to be able to develop even further the industry, which is based on halal values. Instrument is also very critical. in order for the government to be able to help people and to help economy, we are issuing more debt instrument. And sukuk is one of the most important instrument for financing the government debt. This is including the retail sukuk, which is now widely demanded by many investors, both domestically and globally. Indonesia has been recognized as one of the biggest issuer of sukuk globally. And now we also move to the retail sukuk so that the Indonesian people, they are getting more educated and familiar with this new instrument of investment, which is safe and according to the Sharia. This is one of the opportunity that we are going to provide more for the diversifying instrument based on the Sharia law. The government is already also innovating more with this creative financing based on Sharia. All Islamic university in Indonesia, which is owned and supported by the government, they are all built by using this sukuk-based lending, that is project-based lending based on the Sharia law. This is one of the areas that the government providing not only support for the education, Islamic education, but also using this program to diversify and developing the Islamic instrument investment that can create more resiliency for the Indonesian economy. The government also supporting for the diversification of the instruments such as zakat, wakaf, infak, fa'i, and jizyah. These are all the alternative financing, which actually based on social solidarity, but also at the same time can provide an effective instrument in addressing the issue of the COVID-19 implication that severely affecting the economy. I would like to close by saying that the government providing direct support for many of the economic activity based on Sharia law. For example, BMT, which is also Bank Wakaf, these are all the two that is going to receive beneficial transfer from the government in order for them to be able to not only survive, but we also hope that they are going to be developing even further after the COVID-19. So I do hope that this webinar will explore more how the Islamic value as well as the instrument and institution which is based on Islam can play even more important role in not only addressing the severe effect of the COVID-19, but building the new economy which is stronger and more resilient as well as just. Because this is one of the most important value of the Islam is providing a just society. Society based on a shared prosperity, society based on the value of integrity, honesty, and amanah. This is the society that is going to be strong and have the more ability to address the severe downturn because of this COVID-19. So again, I would like to congratulate all of you, especially IAEI Jakarta chapter, who's initiating this meeting. And I do hope that the book that will be launched is going to provide more literature and reference for all of us to be able to then develop policy, instrument, as well as action that can strengthen the Indonesian economy and also the Islamic economy. Thank you so much and have a very productive and constructive meeting. Congratulations for the book launching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Dr. Sri Mulyani Indrawati. Respected guests, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, let us watch the video teaser of the book entitled Recovery of Indonesia Economy in the Post-COVID-19, The Role of Islamic Economics. Thank you, host. Her Excellency, Dr. Sri Mulyani Indrawati, you may stay or leave the forum.
Thank you, Lely. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Have a very productive discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Respected guests, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, we would like to call upon Dr. Rahmatina Kasri as the chairwoman of DPW IAEI DKI Jakarta to deliver her speech to introduce the book. Dr. Rahmatina Kasri, the time is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Laili. Can you hear me, my voice?
Yes, very clear.
Okay, right. Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The Honorable Ibu Sri Mulyani Indrawati, Chairwoman of Indonesian Association of Islamic Economists, and also the Minister of Finance of Indonesia, the Honorable Speakers, Professor Muhammad Aslam Hanif from International Islamic University of Malaysia, Dr. Hylmun Izhar from Islamic Development Bank, Dr. Dadang Mulyawan from Central Bank of Indonesia, and also the Vice Rector of Indonesia International Islamic University, the Honorable guests, Bapak Suminto, Prof. Raditya, Ibu Murniati, Ibu Tika Arundina from DPP IAEI, Bapak Sultan Emir Hidayat from KNEKS, Bapak Edi Abdurrahman, Bapak Rifki Ismail from IFSB, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Praise be to Allah the Almighty, the most gracious and the most merciful, for His blessings, so that we have the opportunity to take part in this meeting in good health and high spirit. Prayers and peace be upon our last Prophet Muhammad SAW, his family, his companions, and his followers. Excellencies, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure for me to be here today to welcome you all to the international webinar and soft launching of the book written by scholars in IAEI with topic Recovery of Indonesian Economy in the Post-COVID-19, the Role of Islamic Economics. As you might be aware, the Association of Indonesian Islamic Economists, or IAEI, is an organization of academics and practitioners aimed to conduct studies and fostering development and education of Islamic economics. IAEI was declared on March 3rd, 2004 at the campus of University of Indonesia, Salemba, one day after the National Convention on Islamic Economics at the Palace of the Vice President of Indonesia. IAEI is vision to become a forum for Islamic economics experts who are committed to developing and implementing Islamic economics. One of its main mission is to give real contribution to the nation, both in terms of constructive thinking and real actions in supporting in realizing a prosperous and just economy of Indonesia. At the moment, for 2019-2024 period, IAEI is very proud to be led by Ibu Sri Mulyani Indrawati, who is also the Minister of Finance of Indonesia. Indeed, we are very fortunate today that Alhamdulillah, Ibu Sri Mulyani is able to spare her time among her very busy agenda to join our meeting today. For us, it is a huge booster for our spirits in collaborating with other parties, all stakeholders, including government and the private sectors, as well as contributing to Islamic economics and the advancement of Indonesian economy. Organizing this international webinar and publishing this book are part of the main program of IAEI Jakarta. These activities are also part of the Road to the 7 ISEF, Indonesia Sharia Economic Festival. Alhamdulillah, this year we have conducted discussions, webinars on a regular basis in IAEI Jakarta since April 2020. At the same time, as we all know, the COVID-19 pandemic has begun to enter Indonesia, and our country was starting to feel the negative impact of this pandemic. Today, we know that this pandemic has affected almost all aspects of our life. Indeed, BPS reported that the second quarter economic growth of Indonesia has been contracted by 5.32%, primarily due to this pandemic. With this background, Ahli emerged to write a book containing an analysis and compilation of thoughts on the impact of the pandemic on the Sharia economy in Indonesia. A compilation of thoughts that offer ideas, strategies to strengthen Islamic finance, micro, small, and medium enterprises, and the Islamic digital economy, as well as its supporting ecosystem, including human resources and research, as well as regulation and governance, so that they can survive the crisis and contribute for the benefit of the people. A collection of thoughts and perspectives on how the Sharia economy can play a bigger role in overcoming the crisis and supporting the economic recovery. Alhamdulillah, under the lead of Dr. Laili Dwi Arsyanti, who is also the chairperson of IAEI Jakarta, the process of writing the book went well, and the book could be finished in about 3 months. And for this, I would like to express my gratitude to Dr. Arsyanti and all the contributors, the author of this book, whose name I cannot name individually. I would also like to thank IAEI Jakarta, particularly the committee for this international webinar, and DPW IAEI for the support and cooperation. Thanks also to the KNEKS, Bank Indonesia, ISEF, and other parties who cannot be named individually for their support. Apart from that, it is not coincidence that today's webinar is conducted in Islamic New Year, the first Muharram 1442 Hijriah, as well as few days after the 75th anniversary of Indonesian independence. We intend to use this very precious time to make this momentum as a reflection and milestone for the revival and recovery of the Ummah's economy. Learning from history, hijrah means moving or living, which has two forms. First, hijrah could mean physically migrating, such as moving from one place to another, as being done by the Prophet Muhammad SAW, who migrated from the city of Mecca to the city of Medina for a better life of the Ummah. Second, hijrah could also be interpreted in ma'nawiyah. It can be contextualized with the current conditions. In this sense, hijrah can be interpreted as a move or a transformation to an economic system that truly reflects values of social justice, of cooperation, solidarity, mutual prosperity, which is very close to what advocated by the values of Islamic economics. It is indeed also very relevant
Assalamualaikum, Dr. Rahmatina.
highest possible level. And finally, I would like to thank you all for participating in the webinar and the book launching. We really hope that the book will be useful, will be a guidance for policymakers, and also I hope that we will get productive and useful outcomes, especially in strengthening the role of Islamic economy and supporting Indonesia's economic recovery. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Dr. Rahmatina Awaliyah Kasri. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, we have just celebrated our 75th Independence Day for our gratefulness and welcoming the Holy Muharram. And for the continue of this event, let us pray together that will be led by Ustaz Tuba Jazil. Ustaz Tuba Jazil, the time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. على هذه الناس صالحا نقرأ الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين يا رب العالمين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم أجمعين. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا شاكرا حمدا نائما حمدا يكفي مزيدا. يا ربنا لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك عظيم سلطانك. اللهم يا رحمن يا رحيم يا فتاه يا عليم. اللهم يا رحمن يا رحيم ارحم ضعفنا يا الله إنك خير الراحمين. اللهم يا الله يا فتاه يا عليم افتح بيننا وبين قومنا وبالحق وأنت خير الفاتحين. اللهم ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم يا رحمن اللهم يا ميسر الأمور يسر أمورنا يا الله إنك تحب اليسر والعسر يسر لنا يا الله يا رب العالمين. اللهم يا الله اللهم أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك. اللهم انفعنا ما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا وارزقنا علما تنفعنا في الدين والآخرة. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من البرص والجنون والجذام ومن سيء الأسقام. اللهم يا رحمن يا رحيم يا فتاه يا عليم يا مجيب السائلين يا الله لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنك من الظالمين. اللهم اجعل أولادنا وبناتنا من الصالحين الصالحات يا الله عالمين عالمات. اللهم اجعل من أهل القرآن اللهم اجعل من أهل القرآن يا الله بالآمين. اللهم يا الله إنك على كل شيء قدير. وفق أمورنا يا الله يا رب العالمين. وفق أمورنا يا الله يا رب العالمين إنك على كل شيء قدير. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة. الحمد لله. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Ustaz Tuba Jazil. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, now we would like to hear further discussion regarding the recovery of the global economy as a whole, and what are the breakthrough exchanges from the OIC countries, and how Indonesia plans for the recovery of the COVID-19 pandemic. This talk show will be moderated by Dr. Luqyan Tamanni. Dr. Luqyan Tamanni is the head of Educational Institutions and Human Resources Development of DPW IAEI DKI Jakarta. He also the head of Division Deputy Director Division of Islamic Capital Market, Komite Nasional Ekonomi dan Keuangan Syariah (KNEKS) or CONEX, according to Dr. Dadang. He is also an academician in various universities. One of them is Tazkiyah. Anyone from Tazkiyah? He attained his Ph.D. in Finance, Accounting and Finance in January 2017 from University of Glasgow, United Kingdom. Master of Economics in September 2002 from University of Malaya, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Bachelor of Economics with Honors in November 1997 from International Islamic University, Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, let us welcome Dr. Luqyan Tamanni. Dr. Luqyan Tamanni, the time is yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Laili. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin amma ba'du. Thank you so much again for all participants who have attended and who are participating, and of course for our distinguished speakers from 3 countries today. And alhamdulillah, we are privileged indeed to also have our Honorable Minister of Finance today, who has I think given us some insights on what the government of Indonesia has done or doing in this trial and difficult times for the health sector as well as the economy. But I think it is best before we start. I would like to remind all the participants to stay muted and also, if you have any questions to the panels later, please type on the chat platforms, as well as if you need to raise a question directly, please indicate in your chat, and we will of course guide you later. Now, before we start, I would like to introduce 3 panelists today, whom I've privileged to meet and know them personally. First in the panel would be Dr. Hylmun Izhar, who is currently a senior economist at the IRTI of the Islamic Development Bank. He is based
senior economistnya IRTI, Bu.
Senior, yeah, he is based in Jeddah, of course, but I had the privilege to actually attend his Viva in Cambridge way back in the UK, and after that, I think I've met a few times in Jeddah as well. He graduated from University of Indonesia with Bachelor of Economics, and then he went to Leicester to obtain Master of Finance at Loughborough University, I believe, in conjunction with Markfield Institute of Higher Education. And then he went to Durham to obtain his PhD in finance, in Islamic finance. And I believe also Dr. Dadang was in Glasgow. I'm not sure in Loughborough. Sorry, he obtained his PhD in economics from Loughborough University. But prior to that, he was at the Institute of Technology Bandung in Indonesia, as well as Master in Finance. And of course, my teacher, my guru, Prof. Aslam, he is currently Professor of Islamic Economics at International Islamic University in Malaysia. He obtained his Bachelor in Economics at IUM as well, and then he went to University of Malaya to obtain his Master in Economics. And then he went to Norwich, I think, University of East Anglia, for his PhD. He has of course authored so many books, and I think most importantly that many have read and learned perhaps is the contemporary Islamic economic thoughts, which hopefully we'll learn some way today in relation to how Muslim countries, Muslim economies deal with a crisis such as COVID. Right, now we can move to the first panel, which is Dr. Hylmun. So Dr. Hylmun will share his thoughts on and also insights how OIC countries, or at least IDB member countries, deal with COVID-19, and what are the future look, the outlook of its recovery, as well as when the curves in these countries will flatten, so to speak. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Dr. Hylmun to share his insights. Further. If you have any slide to share, you can directly do so, Dr. Hylmun. Otherwise, we can ask one of the organizers to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Luqyan Tamanni. Can everyone hear my voice quite clearly?
Yes,
Yes.
clearly.
Okay, good. Well, first of all, thank you very much for the very kind invitations. In fact, it has been very generous of our colleagues and friends at the association, this IAEI Chapter Jakarta. And obviously, I would like to also welcome my fellow panelists who need no introduction, Professor Aslam Hanif and Dr. Dadang Mulyawan. And I surely do believe that the young generation should be inspired by their dedication, commitment, and achievements in the area of Islamic banking and Islamic economics, banking and finance. What they have been doing in the area of Islamic economics, banking and finance has been extremely exemplary. So I think we should really pay due respect to this, Professor Aslam Hanif as well as Dr. Dadang Mulyawan. And I would like to join the organizer in congratulating everyone for the new year, Islamic Hijri calendar. Today is the first Muharram 1442, and I should not forget to extend my appreciation for the launch of this book. Indeed, this book is very timely, and it is without any doubt a commendable effort by the colleagues and friends in Indonesia. And first of all, I should really, express my apology to Dr. Luqyan in particular, because I earlier mentioned that, yes, I did prepare 10, 11 slides of the presentation. But however, there has been quite interesting incidents, constant internet interruptions in the office. Actually, this week I'm in the office. So I have to now resort to my mobile phone. Therefore, I may have to, do the oral presentation. I have gone through the book, and I read it with with great interest. And I still remember as well that one of the expectation from the organizers, expressed to me was what will be the outlook of the Muslims economy, given the fact that I am now affiliated with the Islamic Development Bank, taking care of the 57 member countries. What is going to be happening going forward, if we can say post COVID-19? But first of all, I should really clearly state over here that although, yes, I am not affiliated with IAEI and Islamic Development Bank Group, but my view over here is not representing the official view of IAEI nor Islamic Development Bank Group, because some of them that I will be explaining later on may be not perhaps aligned with what has been conveyed by Islamic Development Bank Group or even the Islamic Research and Training Institute. So, however, therefore, I should really clearly state over here that this is my personal view. Okay. I think without any doubt, being part of the only multilateral development bank which attempts to be in compliance with Islamic finance principles and taking care of the 57 member countries, has allowed me to have a bird's eye view of what has been happening in particularly Muslim worlds, not only on the component on the aspects of the institution, but also on the macroeconomic aspect, be it from the macro, meso, obviously on the product level as well. And I have to be quite frank over here that unfortunately there has not really been there has been an effort, but in terms of the breakthrough beyond the banking and finance, we have to say, and we have to be frank enough, that there hasn't been such things across the board, right? And incidentally, the key message, or one key message that has been profoundly loud and clear from the book, is that banking and finance should not be, or should no longer be, at the epicenter of the equation, because we have to learn from the best experience for whatever the Islamic banking industry brings out, that we can no longer rely on the Islamic banking and finance as such. And therefore, there has been quite considerable evolution in terms of the institutional arrangement, institutional setup, as well as the product development in the area of Islamic economics, banking, and finance. Therefore, as a result, we all know and we are very much aware that the Islamic economics and finance has now been trying to be aligned with the newly introduced or revived MDG turns into the SDG. And although we have the, the Maqasid Sharia and so on and so forth, but at the end of the day, this is now the current trend, the current effort that everybody across the globe is trying to sign up to, right? And with respect to the OIC member countries, I would like to narrow down into 3 countries, namely, obviously, Indonesia, second is Turkey, and the third is Saudi Arabia. Why? The reason is pretty straightforward, because these 3 countries belong to the G20, and these 3 countries are the countries where still being classified as the emerging countries, but they represent the Muslim countries in quite a great deal. And without any exception, the current pandemic has created a huge fiscal pressure upon these 3 countries, without any exceptions, by the way. And we have been suffering quite significantly in many areas. You can look at it from supply or demand and so on and so forth, without any exception. And even in comparison to the advanced or developed countries like the United Kingdoms or even the United States of America, the trend, if you look at any different data, is that going down. The trend of the growth is declining. And one thing that has stood out of the whole crisis, and by the way, before continuing on this point, there are 2, we should really learn from the 2 types of crisis, right? In 2008, the global financial crisis that I'm sure everybody knows over here, the crisis, I think one way or the other, has been predominantly caused by what has been happening within the system. Whereas now, what we are encountering is that the crisis is from outside the system because of the COVID-19 pandemic and so on and so forth. Now, the question is that, do we have to respond in the same way as we did when we did respond the global financial crisis? This can be 1,001 million questions, right? And I don't think we have fully recovered from the previous crisis. Some countries can pick it up quite easily. Some countries may have been still struggling with overcoming the leftover residual impact of the crisis from the 2008, and before they picked up, and then now we have to deal with the COVID-19. So there are different kind of degrees in across the board, in particular in IDB or OIC member countries. But over here, what I would like to highlight is these 3 countries: Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Indonesia. The other thing that I would like to highlight is that the values, and I totally agree with things that has been alluded by the Minister of Finance and Chairman of the Association, Dr. Mulyani Indrawati. Values that have stood out of this crisis are the trust, compassion, shared prosperity, and solidarity. We cannot deny this fact. But now the question is that, what are we going to do with those things? Are we going to sustain this kind of values and mold those values into institutions, leading to certain instruments? I think those things still remain to be seen, because we are, in different degree, obviously, are still in the midst of the crisis. We don't know how deep the crisis is going to carry on. Is it going to be 3 months, 4 months ahead? We don't know. Now, but one thing for sure, across the board, whether it is Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, and Turkey in this context, there has been quite a considerable change in terms of trend in the context of Islamic financial services industry. What does this change actually tell us? Perhaps some of us may realize that this can be considered as the corrective mechanism, or an admission or recognition that the commercialization of Islamic financial industry has brought about financial exclusion, economics exclusion, and things that have been happening may not be according to what we expected in the first place when we tried to establish the whole industry. And by the way, I would like to quote over here the comment of view by one of the founding fathers from the industry, Mr. Iqbal Khan. He mentioned that this is now the time that we should allow or we should enable the Islamic banking industry to be more equity based financial intermediations. But I think a long way to go on those things. So what's next? Just to make it very brief, social norms and values have been evolved. I think it has changed in quite a great deal in certain jurisdictions. Methods of doing business may also change. And as we all know that everybody is now talking about the whole digital economy and digitization. This can bring about different way of conducting the business and perhaps different asset classification. Why does it really matter? Because different asset classification, as you all know, may create a certain alterations to the landscape of financial contracts and Islamic financial contracts at the same time. And if that is going to take place, then obviously the whole chain of the industry, the whole value chain, supply chain, and so on and so forth may be affected as well, one way or the other. And in certain jurisdictions in our member countries may again start questioning the essence of subscribing to the idea of globalization, because they may turn into more regionalization or even localization. And with that note, I would like to end my short comment. And first and last but not the least, again, congratulations on the launch of the. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hylmun. I think you have highlighted a few important points that we can carry on discussing with the other panelists as well as our distinguished participants as well. Because I noticed we are having quite distinguished participations today, and also from other countries as well. Welcome to all participants. And of course, we also have presentation will be shared later on. So please refer to the chat room for information, as well as e-certificate for those who require a certificate of participation. Now let's move to Dr. Dadang Mulyawan, who will share to us how Indonesia is recovering from COVID-19, as well how it is anticipating any downturns, any possible recovery in the third quarter, inshallah. Hopefully, so hopefully we'll have a V shape rather than U shape. Or yesterday, Arian in his column he mentioned square root shape, where the recovery will be V shape, and then take much longer to fully recover. Dr. Mulyawan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, I'd like to thank for the organizer for inviting me to this very important event, and also Assalamualaikum to Dr. Hylmun and also Dr. Aslam Hanif. Again, when we talk about the recovery of the Indonesian economy, as requested by the organizer, talk to me that I would like to touch upon the conceptual framework, how we can deal with the programs and how to optimize our contribution. Perhaps it can be applied here in Indonesia, and of course, we also expect that the other country can also take benefit from our experience. If we talk about the challenges now is how to bring the economy productivity back to the performance we had before the COVID-19. And if possible, we are trying to get it even better. As a Muslim, of course, the fundamental values that we have to, try to embrace is becoming patient first, and it can be manifested into a moderation of consumption. Secondly, patient but optimistic. Optimistic can also be materialized in terms of a readiness to join in a number of economic recovery program with the government and also the society. And the last, we have to be also smart like what we had right now. COVID forced us to do a forced transformation and digitalization. It is like was being revealed in the Holy Quran. And of course, in the difficult time, there's always been an ease. And then we have to look at what is the possibility, opportunity we have given by Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, while we are thinking aloud how to, rectify the situation, how to revive. And also we have to also think the bright side of the event, meaning, after months of COVID, even in Bank Indonesia, we can see that the frequency of the meetings is becoming more intense, and sometimes it's more efficient and also more fruitful. This is the bright side that we would like to, maximize without, not letting us more mourning too much. When we talk about how to materialize these values, how to make the Islamic economy and finance fit in the national program, meaning we are not exclusive, of course. We have to be seen as capable, as, becoming credible and also amanah when we are, engaging in many programs with the government. When we talk about this, and I have 6 elements that, the Islamic economic and finance, particularly the Muslims, to be stronger in terms of building ourselves up in a more systematic way. First, of course, when we talk about Indonesia as a nation, when we want to, enforce and also, make ourselves stronger for sustainable, sustained economic development in long run, we need to, strengthen our industrial structure. Beside what we have now, we have to also develop into, let's say, innovative industry, digital, to be more, efficient. Secondly, of course, we want to also minimize the disparity, allowing, all the segments in the society to be contributive to the economic development, contributive and also enjoying the economic development. Third, of course, the economy should also achieve higher efficiency in their production, sustained by pillar number 4, human resource development. And like what has been said by Excellency Mrs. Sri Mulyani, that the government has also, allocated so much for the educational development, including pesantren. And then the 5th pillar is about the investment. And we have to look at, the development of instruments that cover not only fiscal, commercial, but also now we are stepping into the Islamic social fund instruments. It can be standing alone, and it can also be consolidated and, coordinated through other sectors. And the last, we need to also have sound macroeconomic policy. We have witnessed that, Bank Indonesia, Ministry of Finance, LPS or Deposit Insurance Corporation in Indonesia, and also OJK, Indonesian FSA, has come together in the more, collaborative and a very systematic cooperation that I really appreciate, the readiness of this 4 institutions to come up with a very, I should say, timely policy issuance in terms of instruments that has prevent Indonesia from a very deep recession. So thanks to this institution, of course. And when we talk about these pillars, Islamic economics, where they want to be part of a national economic development program, of course, we have to be able to, show ourselves, to convince the other party that we are not just a name, but we are, a group of people with institutions, with system that are ready to engage and then contribute positively in the program. Pillar number one about the industrial structure, of course, how can Islamic economics develop technological-based industrial activities, digital-based halal value chain? We in Bank Indonesia, for example, every day, day and night, try to support this kind of development. Why? Because we have seen, so much efficiency can be made, so much efficiency in terms of networking, and how we can, without logistical, I should say, handicap, we can facilitate, trading and then commercial activities among the segments which was previously are very inefficient to do that. Secondly, when we talk about disparity, and then thanks also to Basnas, Badan Wakaf Indonesia, and also Ministry of Religious Affairs, supported by Ministry of Finance, we are now been able to develop the governance structure in zakat and awqaf sectors. We can see how zakat institution as well as Badan Zakat Nasional has become exemplary, to my opinion. The achievement in improving the quality of operation that end up with higher public confidence. Every Muslim to have a full trust to put the money they want to exercise the religious duty as well as providing the economic impact has become very significant. We can see during this COVID incidents, the COVID plague, as shared by my brother Irfan Shoki Bey, like example. Basnas and the others zakat institution have been taking a very active, proactive action in relieving the distress of people in this period in terms of providing consumption, opening up some opportunity for them to create also occupation, and then things for them to earn money. And of course, we have also seen the implementation of digitalization process in zakat and awqaf. In many mosques, I've seen the utilization of QR code to do zakat, waqaf, and infaq, which is very progressive in terms of promoting transparency, which is also the core of the Islamic values, to become transparent, credible, and etc. For the efficiency, of course, we have seen also so many efforts done by government. We are also in collaboration with Ministry of Industry and with other ministry. We are trying to also develop the halal industry in Indonesia. In terms of human resource development, of course, the challenge for our university is the link and match program, and then which is supported by high impact research. Islamic value, when it comes to the implementation, requires a very deep research analytics. How to bring, for example, sharing principle in our society. What is lacking, what is advancing, and we need to combine this together. And how to bring about the shared prosperity into reality. You know, it's very easy to talk about shared prosperity when, we need to also improve the governance. We need to also improve the transparency, avoid moral hazard, agency problem to take place. And then in terms of investment, well, again, as we can see that, so many effort has been done by, our government to support the development of sukuk. And then the launch of Alkaf Link Sukuk is one of the example, how the government, can facilitate, in this case, the government is willing to facilitate the, the willingness of the Muslim society to engage collaboratively in resource mobilization program. As we can see, this combined into pillar number 2. We have now tens of hospital, which is built on the base of Alkaf, has been, present in many places in Indonesia. Imagine if we can see 1,000 Alkaf-based assets can develop, and then, this kind of plague, this kind of disasters or natural disasters can be sustained by all segments in the country, not only, the responsibility of the government, but also the Muslim in terms of Islamic economic principle can facilitate, a very efficient mechanism for us to help each other. And then lastly, of course, sound macroeconomic policy, as it was also been discussed in our, webinar, that Alhamdulillah, the central bank and also the Ministry of Finance and also the Indonesian FSA has been, ahead of the curve in providing, let's say, liquidity that has prevent, some adverse impact because of this COVID incidents. And then, the FSA has released some regulation to ease the pressure in terms of the calculation of losses, and for the banks, to take, necessary action to strengthen their position before, the economic recovery period is coming. And then Bank Indonesia, in cooperation with Ministry of Finance, has also issued the Central Bank Sukuk, first instrument based on, Syariah. Bank Indonesia is the retrenchment of the government sukuk that, can play a role in providing liquidity to the market, as well as allowing the central bank to do monetary operation in a Syariah principle. And then, my thought basically is trying to reconfirm what has been explained by Excellency Minister of Finance. I think most of my topic that I would like to discuss has been discussed by Ministry of Finance. And again, in summary, be smart, be optimistic, and also patient. And inshallah, I'm very optimistic, particularly when the medicine, the vaccine for the COVID-19 has been ready for the public, and then I'm sure that the upturn of economy is coming, and be a part of it. Don't be lag behind, because this is the time for us to show the significance of Islamic economic for Indonesian economic recovery. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Dr. Dadang, for I think very insightful presentation as well. You mentioned 6 pillars that I think are key to economic recovery, and I think that's the one thing, the one theme that emerged from Dr. Dadang as well as Dr. Hylmun was shared prosperity and solidarity among Muslims as well as among the societies in the country, or any countries for that matter. I think we can move on now to the last but not least, of course, presentation from Prof. Aslam, who will hopefully cover some aspects on global economic recovery, as well how Islamic economics as a theory as well as in practice could potentially become offer a lot of solutions, key solutions to the problems that we have, either on the health sector, health pandemic recovery side, innovations in vaccine, offering halal vaccine, etc., as well as on economic solutions to the problems that we already have. We have existing problems of poverty, unemployment in Muslim countries, and now we have a crisis in forms of pandemic COVID-19. Please, Prof.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Brother Luqyan, my panelists, fellow panelists, Dr. Hylmun and also Dr. Dadang. It's been a long time, I think, since we were together in a program. And also to all the familiar faces and not so familiar faces who are attending. Thank you very much to the association for inviting me. And although we are now in very critical time in IIUM, we are in the final week of grading papers and exams. And because of the COVID-19, we have an online, mode this semester. So it is quite a challenge for us. But I was very happy to accept the invitation because I thought that this is a very good opportunity, and firstly to congratulate the association for actually taking up this topic. There is a lot of discussion going on, I think, in many WhatsApp groups, in e-groups about this topic, Islamic economics, Islamic finance, and how it can contribute. But congratulations to the team. I think as far as I know, this may be the first book that has come out anywhere in the world on Islamic economics role, on how to, assist in the recovery post-COVID. So congratulations. I also take this opportunity to congratulate all Indonesian colleagues on your 75th anniversary for independence. Inshallah, Indonesia will continue to be, I would say, the growing center for Islamic economics, not only in the region, but I think there is potential even globally. This region will inshallah be the new region that talks about Islamic economics, and not only talks but maybe implement. And I don't think I am dreaming on this. I believe we have the necessary supporting requirements for this. For example, a committed leadership, whether it is bottom up or top down. I think this region, we show that we are leading in this area. Our approach is a gradual approach, right? And we are willing to learn from others. I think this is these are very important features about Islamic economics in this part of the world. Gradual and willing to learn from others. Our development of Islamic economics is research-based. We have given a lot of attention in the field of research as well as in the field of education. I'm so happy to see so many names and familiar faces who were either in IIUM or in other universities, but we have been meeting in conferences, right? I don't think I am exaggerating. Dr. Dadang as well as Dr. Hylmun, who is now in IRTI, you will attest to the fact whenever we organize the conference, easily 40-50% of the papers will come from Malaysia and Indonesia, right? So we are leading in that area. So there is potential, and it is not imagination potential, but it is real potential. But we cannot be complacent. Yeah? We have to double our effort. It is an amanah given to us. Now, for this panel, what I try to do is I will try to focus more on maybe on Islamic economics. As far as Indonesia is concerned, I think you know better than me. I was able to go through maybe half the book. I was not able to complete the whole book, but looking at what I saw, if I understand correctly, you have tried to adopt the Global Islamic Economy Report template. That means looking at the 7 sectors that are discussed in the Global Islamic Economy Report, and you try to see Indonesia in that context. And I think that's a wonderful starting point. Maybe in the question time, if there's any questions about specific areas, the ones that I read, I may try to give comment. Yeah, but let's just go on to some of the points that I'd like to focus. I've been quite lucky. I was somebody who benefited directly from the first generation of contemporary Islamic economists. My first generation may not be the same as first generation as discussed by Abdul Azim Islahi. My first generation, I'm just going back to 1960s and 1970s. Meaning to say, these are the scholars who wrote. They themselves were not trained in Islamic economics. They were either economists themselves, or they were people from Islamic studies, but they were writing on Islamic economics. So I had the benefit of reading their works. And when you read the works of those people who wrote in the 60s and 70s, they looked at Islamic economics as a bigger agenda. It was not banking and finance, just to maybe support what was mentioned by Dr. Hylmun. Islamic banking and finance was one part of the bigger agenda, right? And I think if we are talking about the role of Islamic economics in helping to become the catalyst of recovery for countries, we need to take this bigger look. It cannot just be focused only on banking finance. I will even argue it cannot only focus on economics. The simple reason is, I think as mentioned by your Honorable Minister just now, this pandemic was outside economics. Yeah? So it's coming from an area which most of us maybe did not understand anything about. And this external area has affected economics, finance, our social lives, even our family lives, right? So really the approach that we need to take is an approach that sees Islamic economics as a wider agenda, right? Now, these early pioneers, when they wrote about Islamic economics, they also talked about the need to have an economic system and a discipline called Islamic economics for us not only to theorize, but we must also put into practice. And I think this is where Dr. Dadang was repeatedly mentioning just now. Yes, it's one thing to talk about Islamic economics, but it is another thing for us to put it into proper policy, yeah, that will actually be lived by all of us, right? Now, in order for us to develop this, whether it is in theory or in practice, another reason why I'm very happy with this region and this Islamic economics development in this Southeast Asia region is, generally we have accepted the fact that in order to develop Islamic economics, we need to integrate modern knowledge with our Torah. Yeah, so there is an integration needed. It is not that we find all the solutions only in the Torah, because the Torah has its time and space
Kemana sih ya?
limitation.
Hanifa?
Therefore, we have to also critically interact. So I think it's very important. We have to develop a critical mindset. One of the papers in the book, which I managed to go through, was talking about literacy. Yeah, literacy, the importance for us to have literacy. I think the paper was on literacy in halal food or something, but a definition was given, and the definition said we must be able to have. I think this is very, very important. So not only for the halal industry, but we need to have a critical mindset for our discipline as a whole, Islamic economics. What is it that we can utilize from modern economics, and what is it that we cannot? Yeah? What is it we can learn from our Torah? What is it we have to take as a lesson, but we don't have to, we don't have to implement that today. So a critical mindset is very, very important. To be creative and innovative. I think there was another paper in the book that talked about media and recreation, right? This whole industry requires creativity, requires innovation, right? How do we teach Islamic economics that enables us to develop this creativity and innovation? I think this is a major challenge in our curriculum that we have to address. Yeah, the one good thing about this last semester, where we have had to use online platform, I think if it was not for COVID-19, 3/4 of our lecturers will not be interested to know how to use this Zoom platform, right? But we were forced by circumstances, and I think now we are relatively comfortable using, if not Zoom, many of the other platforms. But we must be able to be creative and innovative. Let me just give a very quick example. When I was in Palembang many years ago, attending a conference, I remember we went to the riverside, and there was this, what do you call this, a kind of a amusement park. And there was, a lot of children, they were going on the merry-go-round. Yeah. Now, the person who was running that stall, it was not run by machine. He was kayo bicycle. He was pedaling the bicycle, and when he was pedaling the bicycle, the merry-go-round was going around. And I have to say, I never saw this innovative solution being done anywhere else, not in Malaysia for sure. So innovation is very important. If Islamic economics is going to contribute to the recovery, there must be innovation in the way we go about. I'm very happy that in Indonesia, you have decided to talk about a Sharia economics and finance master plan. Yeah, in that sense, I hope maybe Malaysia, we will follow you and also talk about Islamic economics and finance. But I think there is a very, very narrow way of looking at things in many parts of the world, only looking at banking and finance. I hope you continue with talking about economics and finance. I think it's very, very important. Now, what are those main points about Islamic economics? Was mentioned by Rahmatina in her introduction. You're talking about all these, social justice, collaboration, etc. And one was used, kesejahteraan. He has been pushing this agenda for this word sejahtera. It's a very unique word. There's another word called kemakmuran. Both mean prosperity. Again, maybe we differ from Indonesia and Malaysia, but if you look into our dictionary, prosperity. But sejahtera is much more than material prosperity. Sejahtera is going to a much more holistic meaning. So I would like to see Islamic economics, when we talk about well-being, when we develop our maqasid-based frameworks that are so popular now, yeah, that Dr. Hylmun mentioned. I think even IRTI is having one of their areas in this area of maqasid-based development framework. This idea of sejahtera, I think, is a very, very important thing. I believe it can be something that we contribute to the global discussion of developing Islamic economics. Just a few comments before we end, a couple of minutes, please. The book as a whole, besides looking at the 7 different sectors, talked about micro enterprises and social finance, artificial intelligence, digital economy, very, very important, human resource issues, and then governance and regulatory issues. I think these are all very, very important points that we need to develop. I echo Dr. Dadang. If we want to make Islamic economics something that will be able to contribute to our post-COVID recovery, we really have to think outside the box. Okay. Now, maybe as a parting note, I just want to mention, in the early, maybe April, in the month of April, there were a few discussions that I had participated in, where those people were talking about how COVID-19 gives us an opportunity to restructure the economy. All right. We are having slowdown. Many areas are being hit very badly. Tourism, your service sectors, even agriculture to a certain extent, yeah, because of the lack of transportation, etc. COVID-19 gives us an opportunity to restructure the way we want to develop our economy. Dr. Dadang mentioned coming back to pre-COVID levels. Now, I would argue, yes, let us get back to pre-COVID levels, but let us restructure the economy. Now, what will that restructuring be, and how can Islamic economics help to restructure that economy that we have? Certainly, we can utilize Sustainable Development Framework as one of our guides. You know, IUM, alhamdulillah, we are focusing a lot on this, but as we have in mind, we don't want to just adopt all the 16 goals or 17 goals and try to see where Islam fits in. No, we want to develop the role that Islam can play in sustainable development. So we have to actually develop our frameworks. In the case of economics, what is that economic structure that we want to have? All right. Some of the features, a renewed look at agriculture. I think this is very important. And it is certainly well established in our Maqasid al-Sharia, the importance of food and agriculture. Secondly, we have to talk about the environment. There is no way we can talk about a sustainable development without giving sufficient attention on environment. I think there was a paper on tourism in the book. Yeah, and I remember visiting a few places in Indonesia, and in this particular case, it was Lombok, and they were talking about halal tourism, yeah, as one of the features. But what is this halal tourism? It has to be environmentally friendly. We don't environment just to bring tourists into the country. So restructuring the economy, how can Islamic economics restructure that recovery and make it in line to what we would like to have. And in doing that, we must have the human resource, the trained human resource, the public, voluntary. So we need to. So let me stop here. I would like to thank organizers again and welcome if you have any questions. Inshallah, we can try to give our input. Wallahu a'lam.
Thank you so much, Prof. Aslam, for your insightful presentations. I think we have learned a great deal on how actually we can deal with this pandemic, if you like, and also crisis, by returning to what for the strength that we have. For instance, we should be more conscious of the strength of in agriculture, food, as well as more conscious of environment, because in this age we are talking about sustainable development. So if you don't care about environment, so this is a pointless endeavor. Right, we have a lot of questions, and I think I would like to read the first question that addressed to all of the panelists. So it is from let me check. Fadlan, I think. Yeah. He mentioned that Islamic economics has three functions, namely commercial, spiritual, and social function. However, commercial is more dominant. So how can we make these the three roles, all three pillars in Islamic economics to be balanced, not just commercial side? Perhaps Dr. Hylmun first, perhaps you'd like to address the question.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for the questions. And obviously, without any doubt, we have learned a lot as well from the insights presented by Dr. Dadang Mulyawan and Professor Aslam Hanif. For that, we are very grateful. With the question, I have to state the disclaimer over here. We have to remember that Islamic Bank cannot represent or is not a reflection of the Islamic economy. Islamic Bank is based on the institutional setup of a deposit-taking entity. So it is by nature is a commercial institution. Yes, if there is any aspiration to create a balance between commercial, spiritual, and social, that's obviously that's a good thing. But in my very personal view, to create a balance, I think that will be a bit too much, because by nature it is a wealth maximization, entity driven. So that's my view.
Okay, Dr. Dadang, would like to tackle this question first?
Over to you.
Of course, Islamic teaching has provided us a very comprehensive platform for us to interact. So we have, like in the economic platform, we have the commercial sectors, we have a social sectors, we have a fiscal sectors, we have a production sectors. We cannot push the commercial sectors to do, humanitarian action too much. Although, of course, the spiritual and social function can also be performed, but not in an excessive way. In this case, cross-sector collaboration is very important. And then it is why now the government, Bank Indonesia, Ministry of Finance, and with the Ministry of Religious Affairs is trying to put our full effort to develop zakat and nakaf sectors very much. That's why, we can see the result. The quality of the operation of zakat and al-kaf has become, I have to say, very good standard. We can trust them, and then we can also see reports transparent, available in the public. Maybe you can refer, for example, Bank Indonesia has also issued Sharia Economic Finance report in 2019, which is available in the Bank Indonesia homepage. Please visit and try to download. This is one of our efforts to put, all the sectors at the same level, and then we can see, maybe Bank Indonesia is the first central bank in the world that has been able to compile all the information, not only from the commercial part, but also from the social, Islamic social finance, and also the economy. Maybe it is my response to that question. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dadang. Prof. Aslam, the
Just
balance.
very quickly, just to mention that, there are many kinds of banks. I mean, commercial banks is one type of banks. But, we also know that now there are now social banks, right? I mean, all over the world. And there are also non-banking institutions. There are a variety of shadow banking institutions. There are so many types of business enterprise which all play a role in the economy. Of course, the banking industry is very, very dominant, especially for Islamic finance. Islamic banking is still dominant. Maybe 70-75% of Islamic finance is still coming from banking. But you have these other institutions. So I think even if there could be commercial banks, there are many more ethically inclined. I would just recommend everybody do a bit of read up on interdependent utility function. I think you can develop very nice models about how my utility depends on your utility. Yeah? So we may try to develop something in that area to see how we can balance. Although I agree, it may not be possible to do that in the current context of commercial banking.
Thank you, Prof. I think as we're talking about the commercial side, I think I would like to also refer to questions on banking. There are several questions on that. So it addressed to either Dr. Dadang as well as Dr. Hylmun. The questions on the solution for PPRS, the rural banks, as well as BMTs, which are affected by COVID. And also questions on Bank Wakaf Mikro. To Prof. Aslam, it is a new initiative in Indonesia where we have microfinance institutions based on Wakaf. So this is Bank Wakaf Mikro. So how can we extend its outreach, because it is very small community bank, how it is going to survive the crisis? And also the questions, particularly to Dr. Hylmun, on the role of IDB vis-a-vis bank muamalat, and it's a long questions. Perhaps you may be, but it's a question on how I think IDB plays a role as continue to play a role to develop countries as well as to develop financial institutions in member countries, and to strengthen this institution either during the crisis or during normal economic periods. So on the question on these banking questions, anyone want to first venture to answer?
Okay, can I take?
Yes.
When we talk about, I like to respond to the question about the BMT and the digital platform, as well as I think I try to also to combine with other issues here. We are now we are already in the Industrial Revolution, the fourth. Again, if we can learn from the history, from the Industrial Revolution, the first, the second, and the third, we cannot escape from, technological development where efficiency will be gained. Here, in this Industrial Revolution, the fourth, one of the efficiency is about the inventory, meaning that so many efficiency has been achieved by previous chapters of economic development. Now we are coming in the very stiff economic competition. So again, to my opinion, we cannot escape. Don't run. We need to embrace that digital economic platform, and how we think about harmonizing and to put this thing fit in the future technological development. Again, when we talk about BMT, of course, again, before I further explain my my thought, this is my personal opinion. I'm not representing the central bank stance here. When we talk about BMT, There are very many, small, but Alhamdulillah, they are beneficial to the community. What is the reason for the existence? It is because the ease, operational ease, efficiency in doing, financing to the people. When the technological coming, and then we may think of institutional arrangement, team up, and then we can work together. Let's say you may, initiate some activity together in the consolidated way, many institution, and it will save costs. Again, when technology comes, particularly during the COVID, we can see from the economic statistics, the digital platform industry has been, achieved a tremendous development, which is inevitable. This is the fact that we have to face, and they try to embrace. Again, how to turn, traditional BMT into a technological-based BMT, for example, in the future. This is a challenge, of course, and it is. Thank you for asking this question, because it reminds us with our challenges. It is something that we have to achieve. And then again, Islam talks about Sunnatullah. So we have to embrace our Islamic value, but at the same time, we have to do also Iqra. We need to be smart. We need to be able to, utilize our resources, and then to prove with these governance structures, with this moral value in our activities, like Prof. Hanif also said earlier, that the utility is about preference. Why we want to choose the Islamic finance services other than the others? So this is the thing that we need to build up from the roots, the stem, until to to the leaves. We need to also strengthen our education and to put Islamic value in it. And then also we need to think about how to mainstream our activities into the national initiatives, and then how we all also try to comprehend how to complete every single things that all the Islamic activities, Islamic economics is very relevant to answer our needs. I think that's my answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Dadang. Dr. Hylmun?
Right. You see, in Southeast Asia regions, what we have been feeling over the past 7 and 8 years is that the area or the realm of Islamic social finance has gained a great prominence. And I just would like to inform everyone over here that this kind of phenomenon is not only taking in our region. When I say I means our region is Southeast Asia, although I'm now geographically based in Saudi Arabia. And interestingly enough, the social or Islamic social finance is also gaining prominence and momentum in the context of Saudi Arabia. Let me give you an example. During this pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, quite a number of commercial banks have established Waqf fund pool. That's number one. Number two, as an effort to regain its leadership or champion in the area of Waqf, at the moment, currently, the General Authority of Awqaf in Saudi Arabia is doing an assessment on calculating how big is actually the Waqf asset in Saudi Arabia. Because until today, the number or the definite figure of Waqf is not yet determined. So this is one area in the area of social finance or Waqf. And some of you might be aware that although perhaps it's not as advanced as what we have now in Indonesia in terms of the zakat management and distribution, but the area of digitization or digital economy is also being part of the zakat management in the country of Saudi Arabia. And Turkey, for instance, if you look at Turkey, because earlier I mentioned in my earlier comments G20, Indonesia, Saudi, and Turkey, they are trying to revitalize the heritage of Ottoman. In the context of Wakaf, as you all know, I think now it's also gaining momentum with the TV series of Ertugrul. Everybody across the board is now talking about this TV series. So this is now gaining the momentum. So the commercial kind of nature of Islamic finance industry, I think it was the past. Now everybody is moving towards socio-economic friendly financial instruments by combining commercial proposition with financial and plus social inclusion impact. And having said that, I cannot agree more with what Dr. Dadang earlier said. Again, giving the example of Saudi Arabia as well as Turkey. Two keywords over here that have been quite profound. Number one is embracing the technology. Under SAMA, as well as the Ministry of Finance in Saudi Arabia, they have one dedicated unit or department, namely Financial Sector Development Program, or FSDP, under which there is a dedicated fintech that is taking care of the two things. Number one, the whole process of digitalization, as well as number two is the innovation. So these two keywords, we cannot, we cannot simply try to prevent those things from happening. It has been happening, and it is now still happening. The last comment with respect to the nature of the relationship or intervention of IDB and Bank Muamal Indonesia, I have to say that I should and I must refrain from making such comment because it is public domain and that has been, it can be, basically I should really refrain from making that comment. Thank you.
Yes, I think it is fair enough, and thank you, Dr. Hylmun. There's one question said that I think I should highlight from Rizkullah on the potential mergers of Islamic banks owned by BUMN in Indonesia. Perhaps Dr. Dadang or Dr. Hylmun would like to comment on this. And after that, I have a couple of other questions on macroeconomics and one specific question to Prof. Aslam. But I think I would like to go to Dr. Dadang first on the mergers, potential mergers of Islamic banks.
Can you say it again? Sorry.
Okay, this is a question from Paris Kola. What do you think of the ongoing process of merger among the 4 government-owned banks, Islamic banks, to become only one government-owned bank in relation to the increased role of Islamic banking industry towards developing small, medium, and even micro enterprises in Indonesia?
I would like to also, make a disclaimer again. So this is my personal opinion. So I'm not representing the Bank Indonesia or Triple IU sense here. But of course, I think one of the reasons of the mergers, of course, this is to strengthen the capital position. So the risk-taking capacity of the institution will become higher, and then particularly in taking up some risk. Of course, when we talk about how a bigger bank can give more concern to the say low-income society or small customers, again, I think it's just a matter of how this new institution, if it can proceed, is equipped with very good planning. So again, the problem is not the problem, but the emphasis is not on the size of the bank. So the concern is on the strategic business planning that will be implemented with good business process and how this planning is sustained by the resources. So I think number one, think about efficiency that has to be achieved. But again, on the other side, think also about the coming digitalization, because P2P lending, they provide services. This is like a banking institution. They are very efficient, but at the same time, because this is like 2 different institutions giving us almost the same services, but different sets of regulations. So this is a challenge for us, how to harmonize, how to provide more efficient financing to the projects, particularly to the SMEs, but without losing, operational prudence that can jeopardize the system in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Dadang. I would like to also read the questions, very interesting questions from Pak Ahmad Sudiro, and I think similar question also raised by Pak Agus Sudianto and Budinar. The question goes like this, Dr. Aslam. Many Muslim countries, many Muslims are now more concerned in buying an expensive bicycle. In Indonesia, Brompton is like a scarce commodity now. Even in Germany and UK, you cannot find any of them in the shop because apparently Indonesians are buying all the Bromptons in the shops. Even during pandemic, then giving some money to those in need. Can this phenomenon be an example of justifying the statement that the most important aspect in Islamic economic is to change the mentality and mindset of the actors, Prof? And perhaps other panelists can also join in responding to this interesting question.
Thank you very much for that question. Really, this is actually a major challenge when we want to develop Islamic economics. We have in our conceptual and sometimes theoretical discourse a lot of discussion about doing this and doing that and doing this. But at the end of the day, it is the human beings who are going to be living Islamic economics. And when the people who are acting, the agents, are not behaving according to what you say, this is a major challenge. So I would agree with the person who asked the question that yes, part of Islamic economics mission is to change the mindset and behavior of people. And this is not, there is nothing unscientific about this or uneconomics about this. Sometimes, people who are conventionally trained, they will argue that this is ideology. You are trying to indoctrinate. But this is what economics does. Every year when the budget is presented, economic policy is going to raise taxes in certain area. What is the reason to raise tax? Is to change behavior. So I don't see any problem in trying to address Islamic economics in order to change the behavior of people. But we are changing the behavior of people so that it conforms to our worldview, to the Sharia, and therefore perfectly acceptable. So the worldview, which is at the base of economics, is very important. How to get people to follow that worldview, this is another major challenge, right? I think this will be the bigger challenge. But this is where education process plays a very important role. What we are teaching in the class, and I can say, rather confidently, in IIUM, in our discussion of Islamic economics and Islamic finance, we have always been promoting, let's say, equity instruments. And our students go through the program. When they go out and they see the practice, they see something different. But slowly, with more and more people going out who don't agree with the practice, I think we have seen changes happening outside. So now people talk about social banking, they talk about other objectives, they talk about corporate social responsibility. I think it's important that we continue to teach what we would like our agents to behave and try to produce that Islamic economic man. We have to produce that individual. It's not easy, but this is our job as academicians.
Thank you, Prof. Dr. Dadang?
Yeah, if I might join, of course, this question brings me back to our discussion with Prof. Hanif also, if you can remember, Prof. Hanif, 2005 in Jeddah, in IDB. So when we talk about utility function, of course, we talk about economy. Economy is trying, like in the math, trying to model the behavior of the person. So this is a challenge for the Islamic economist to do the identification of or the profile of the utility of the Muslim, how they should behave, how we can also model the incentive for them to behave, because every people will have inner beauty and also strong exoframe. Inner beauty, basically, this is the thing that will drive somebody else's action towards one action A or B. When somebody is having some financial resources, of course, they will have a liberty to buy A or B, Brompton or the other. When we talk about Islamic economics, like Prof. Hanif said, we are talking about education, but how education should be run. Is it formally? It has also be, inherently built in the system. Like in Islam, for example, rewards is also promised in the Holy Quran. If we behave good, that we will, granted Jannah, for example. This is also a kind of incentive mechanism. Incentive mechanism that can be graded from the celestial level to the worldly level. In the worldly level, like when you teach a child, for example, I can give you this if you do that. And then it develops. What develops and what is changed? The change is only the scope and level of the consumption. So again, the challenge for the Islamic economists here, particularly when we want to reshape the behavior of the, let's say, Indonesian towards a more productive by using Islamic economic teaching. And of course, it's the challenge for us as the regulators, as a part of educational system, to teach and then to educate the people how they can behave in accordance to Islamic values. Thank you.
Dr. Hylmun, any words on this? Any comments?
Yeah, just quickly. This kind of question is by far my most favorite question during this session, because this reminds me of what was taught to me by one of the young industry leader in Islamic banking and finance that I cannot mention the name over here. And he told me like this: Hylmun, there is nothing wrong with being majestic, right? All right, I was quite taken aback by that. Now, in respect of that question, and obviously he gave the example of Imam Abu Hanafi and so on and so forth, and we don't want to go back into this. Right. Now the question is that, the role of education, the way I see it is building the character. Essentially, that is building the characters, cannot be understated. And what I am interested in, in gauging that kind of behavior is that during this pandemic, is it going to create a change in our behavioral norms and patterns? It is, we will have to see. Are we getting more selfish? Are we getting more benevolence? Are we creating a solidarity among ourselves? I don't know. We will have to see. Because in certain regions, we see the things that we were expecting, but in other countries, we are entirely seeing the opposite. So I think so many things that we can learn from this sort of pandemic, and that can be quite exciting in the years to come.
I think that's a very interesting closing. But before we end, I think we run out of time, and I would like to give opportunity for each of our panelists to make a brief closing statements in regards to the topic that we have discussed this afternoon. Prof. Aslam first, perhaps.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Hylmun. Maybe just to some closing points. I think Islamic economics, if we want it to become a relevant and meaningful contributor to recovery in post-COVID times, has to go back to its roots. These roots can be history. So there are some of us who are very interested in going back to the history and to look at what our scholars of the past had written about certain things. By all means, we need to increase the research in this area. But I'm referring more to just going back to 1960s and 70s, reading the works of these pioneer Islamic economists, and trying to see how we can make Islamic economics not only a multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary exercise, but a transdisciplinary. Yeah, this is maybe we need to create new disciplines from looking at different areas of knowledge. I think this is the way forward. This is what we have learned from COVID-19, discourse. You cannot keep isolation in your own discipline as if economics or as if finance can be an independent discipline. We have to go cross discipline, and in that process develop new ways of thinking. And for this, I would just like to maybe also invite everybody here, please read up materials that I besides being in IIUM, I'm also assisting IIIT, International Institute of Islamic Thought, in some of their research projects and so on. And we are actually very keen to look into this area called futures studies. All right. By future studies, we are not looking into crystal ball and predicting the future, but we are talking about the importance for us in Muslim countries to be able to better plan and implement our plans. In order for us to plan and implement our plans, we need to know where we want to go. We cannot continue to be followers all the time. We have to chart our own path, but we need to do it in an organized way. So there is a lot of discussion about future studies. And just going back to the book, I believe in one of the papers, somebody was mentioning that Islamic or halal tourism is the same as new normal tourism. All right. Now this term new normal is being used everywhere. Everybody uses this term now. But in future studies, we have our colleague and scholar in the UK, Ziauddin Sadar. He developed a new term. He called it post-normal times. So this is not new normal anymore. It is post-normal. Yeah, something which is very hard to imagine, but it has arrived. So so please read up on this for those who are interested. I believe this is a very interesting area, especially when you want to develop Islamic economics. What future studies and post-normal times can tell you is how to break down the barriers and to move outside your discipline so that you are not stuck within your narrow discipline. Yeah? Wallahu alam. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dr. Hylmun, any closing remarks?
Well, very quickly, as I earlier mentioned in my remark, I think the value of trust, compassion, and shared prosperity plus solidarity, I think it should be strongly upheld, and this might bring about the real change in the society and for the years to come, inshallah. But don't forget that the digital and innovations are two keywords that cannot be understated as well. Shukran jazeelan.
Thank you. Dr. Dadang, closing remarks, please.
I have 3 points here. First, chance will never come twice. So again, this is a time where the government and many potential people are supporting the development of Islamic economic and finance. So this is a time for us to engage and to support, to contribute positively. Don't think about the negative side. Yes, of course, we need to mitigate all the risk, but we have to be optimistic that if things are trying to be achieved sincerely and smartly, then inshallah, a good result will come. Secondly, I think be smart and also relevant to what we are facing. Smart in terms of course, we have to be, friendly to the technological development and how, it has to be also combined with the economic purposes. And we need to also think about the Islamic values and how to implement this in the current situation that we are facing. And the third, the last thing, all has to be done collaboratively. Only one person cannot achieve something, but once we are developing network is not just a means for just chatting, but helping each other. It's very, very important. Again, we are, we have to build up the institutional arrangement that allow us to do support one to another in very constructive way. Inshallah, what we are planning, how the Ummah can positively contribute to the national economic development can prevail. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much for all distinguished panelists who have shared their thoughts and of course insights for us today. And I'm sure we have learned a great deal on how COVID has affected Muslim countries and how we are dealing as a community, as larger community, to dealing with this COVID-19. And I think I don't need to summarize or highlight any other points because it has been very clear. And of course has been a beneficial and very insightful webinar or Zoominar, if you like. And again, thank you so much for Professor Aslam, Dr. Hylmun, and Dr. Dadang, who have spent more than 2 hours with us this afternoon. Thank you so much also, respected audience and participants. Thank you so much for the questions and comments, and of course your participations. And thank you so much. And that's all the time that we have. That's all from me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you Pak Luqyan.
Thank you. Terima kasih Pak
Hylmun.
Syukran jazilan. Terima kasih Dr. Aslam, Dr. Dadang. Syukran, thank you.
Terima kasih Pak Luqyan.
Ada Dr. Laili. Oh, Pak Mulis ya. Dr. Laili.
Dr. Laili juga terima kasih.
Dr. Laili.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Luqyan Tamanni, Professor Muhammad Aslam Hanif, Dr. Hylmun Izhar, and Dr. Dadang Mulyawan. Respected guests, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, we have now come into the closing session. Thank you very much for your attention and your participation in this international webinar and the DPW IAEI DKI Jakarta's book launching entitled Recovery of Indonesia Economy in the Post-COVID-19, the Role of Islamic Economics. I also would like to thank you for all the committees who have put a great effort to make this event available within a very short time. Hopefully we can benefit from this event. And this hijrah momentum would bring us to be a better person from day to day. For participants who have been selected as the best participants question, Pak Dahlan, Pak Fadlan, Pak Rizkullah, and Pak Ahmad Sudiro, kindly confirm to the committee for further information. Happy Islamic New Year 1442 Hijriah. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Prof. Aslam.
Thank you very much.
Dadang, Pak Hylmun.
Terima kasih. Syukran.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you, Pak Dadang.
Sama-sama.
Luqyan, kalau boleh usul ada rekamannya ya bagi yang terlambat join.
Oh, oke. Di YouTube bisa Pak, nanti kita kirim
YouTube ya.
Iya, YouTube karena tadi live jadi bisa dilihat rekamannya. Ada.
Ya, makasih ya Pak Luqyan.
Sama-sama Pak Mulis. Ya.
Sama Pak Mulis.
Ya, sama-sama.
Ya, terima kasih semuanya. Assalamualaikum.
Ya, terima kasih semuanya. Alhamdulillah. Mohon izin untuk live.
Nah, udah ya, nggak ada foto bersama, ini nggak ada.
Yang e-sertifikat sudah semua ya tadi ya, jadi sudah ada linknya ya. Yang teman-teman yang ingin mendapatkan e-sertifikat bisa ngelihat.
Sudah linknya sudah di-share tadi, di chat juga sudah berapa kali.
Ya.
Oke.
Dan juga kalau yang rekaman bisa langsung ke YouTube IAEI TV ya, kalau nggak salah.
Iya, mungkin nanti kita bisa share ya untuk link YouTube-nya. Oke.
Izin ya Bapak Ibu, saya N.
Ya. Bisa.
Ya, Mas
Terima kasih banyak, Mas Izhar.
Ya, makasih banyak.
Silakan Mas Azizon. Ya, oke. Makasih banyak semuanya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mas Azizon?
Ya Bu.
Ya, sudah di end?
Belum Bu. Saya kira masih ada silaturahmi Bu. Bagi saya Bu ya. Mohon izin Bapak.
Ya.